back in these days, it all just, it's like if you ask me why was I doing this story, this is when I was in like my mid-20s, late 20s, why did I want to do the story? My answer would always be the same. It might be funny. I was just looking, things have changed, but back then I was looking for, it might be funny. So I thought it might be funny to sneak into a Bilderberg meeting, and it might be funny to hang out with Omar Bakri for a year while he tries to overthrow democracy and establish an Islamic State. And he was calling himself Bin Laden's man in Great Britain and so on. And so we called him up, me and my friend Saul Dibb, who's now a really successful movie director, and said, can we spend a year with you while you attempt to overthrow democracy? And he said, okay. And so we went to his house, and on the first day, the first thing we did was watch The Lion King, because he said it's the only way he can relax. He said, they call me the lion. They call me the great warrior, the great fighter. And then he needed to get a collection box for Hamas. So we went to the local wholesale warehouse. And the only collection boxes they had in stock were these giant novelty plastic Coca-Cola bottles. So I said, isn't it funny that you're, collecting money to overthrow the West and these palpable symbols of Western corruption? And he was like, yeah. I didn't want to engage in the comic irony at all. And then we spent a few months with him on and off, chauffeuring him to the Cash and Carry and chauffeuring him to Office World, where he got his Islam, the Future of Britain pamphlets photocopied because of Office World's special price promise that if you find a photocopying service that's cheaper, Office World will give you double the difference or something. I remember one time I was with Omar at the counter at Office World, and he was getting some leaflets that said, crush the pirate state of Israel. And a couple of feet up, there was a Hasidic Jew getting sheet music photocopied for a bar mitzvah. And Omar was like, taking sort of sideways glances at the Hasidic Jew, and the Hasidic Jew was like taking sideways glances at Omar. And then Omar turned to me and said, very sensitive moment. and then he said, I've let you in my life. I would like something in return. And I said, what? And he said, can you drive me to this meeting up in Birmingham? So I drove him to what was basically I wouldn't go as far as to say like a secret terrorist meeting, but it was definitely a secret radical Islam meeting at this country house in Birmingham. And Omar, they wouldn't let us in. And Omar got into trouble for like bringing us along. So we had to wait in the parking lot while Omar came and bought us chalk ices. He said, I can bring you chalk ice. So we said, yes, please. So we were in the car park eating chalk ices while Omar was doing God knows what in this sort of, spooky Hogwartsy house in Birmingham. And then Omar outed me as a Jew at his jihad training camp in Crawley, which is near Gatwick Airport. He said, I'd been with Omar for a year and never discussed my religion. But he said, he suddenly said, look at me with the infidel John. He said to all his jihad trainees, he said, look at me with the infidel John, who is a Jew. And they all went, ah! And I said, surely it's better to be a Jew than an atheist. And someone in the crowd went, no, it isn't. And I don't know why I said that, because actually I am an atheist. I don't know why I even said that. It was such a stupid thing to say at a jihad training camp. And then they all surrounded me and started asking me what it was like to be a Jew. And one of them said they'd never met a Jew. And they were like treating me like a kind of rare fish you'd find at the bottom of a coral reef. And then this was all like 1996, 1997. And I remember at the time, I met somebody from the Board of Deputies of British Jews, who's like the Jewish version of the Anti-Defamation League. I mean, the British version of the ADL. And he said, Britain, but I think he meant me as well, as Britain, hasn't woken up to what Islamic terrorism actually means. And I remember thinking, paranoid. And then, 4 years later. And ever since 2001, Omar's people have been implicated in acts of terrorism. When I say Omar's people, there's been a number of occasions where a suicide bomber has blown themselves up and would have Omar's number, stored in his mobile phone. That's happened on a number of occasions. One of the drivers who would in Crawley, where the jihad training camp was, ended up blowing himself up somewhere. And Omar himself now is in prison in Beirut. So a few people have said, well, were you naive that this was happening and you were making a kind of comic story? This was like a burgeoning thing and you were in the middle of it, but you presented it as a kind of comic story. And I guess my answer is, everything that happened. All the comedy and the absurdity happened. And we were there. I mean, we were there by luck, in a way, but we were there filming it. And so I think it's a kind of valuable record of the world being about to change with nobody knowing that it was about to change.